Morning, YouTube. What's up? Big Gob here. And we just got back from Gommel. We did pretty good at the event. We got 25th, losing to Sonics 3-1. Most of the games were close, who actually ended up winning the tournament. And we lost to Riddles and Losers, went to game 5. But he busted out the Kazuya, and, that was a hard one. That was a really hard one. But this video isn't about Gommel, actually. It's about something else that happened after Gommel. After I lost to Riddles, I decided to go to a One Piece TCG event, Store Championship, and I entered in with my Edward Newgate, really good leader, and I was able to clutch it out actually, going 5-0 in the bracket and winning a championship winner Luffy card. Looks really cool in person. It's really cool. It says winner on it and everything. Um, so this video, I'll be talking about my Edward Newgate deck list, the changes I'll make after the post ban list, and what I actually will be doing after the ban list. Am I going to keep running Newgate with one Rad, one Whitebeard, one Marco, or am I going to switch to something like Zoro or whatever could be meta? So let's check it out. All right, so go ahead and we'll start with our one drops. So probably the only one we run besides 2 counters is Izo. We run 4 Izos, just because it gets all of your Whitebeard pirates, and also gets your event Whitebeard pirates, which we do run. In case you don't find anything with Izo, you can get your Whitebeard pirates, and then get a Newgate 9-drop or Marco blocker or the 5-cost Marco with that event. So just really good card, searches everything. That's our only one drop. Go into our 2 counters, which also has more 1-drops. We run 4 Machinos, 4 Thomas, and 4 Jozu. I think I wouldn't mind upping this number a bit, especially after the post ban list. Maybe adding in 4 more 2K counters, like the Luffy or even like a Mass Deuce. I never find myself using Machina for the Izo buff, but I do constantly find myself using Otama to lower down Marco blockers to 3, doing it with Newgate. Or even if you have to, you can do like a double Otama onto like a Queen blocker or a Law blocker, just so you can really get in there and force them to use other blockers they have, or to just get all the way through. Next, we going over our vanillas. Run 2 Atmos, 3 King Do, and 3 Thatch. I used to have this number at 3. I was going 3-3-3, and then I also ran only through the 5-cost Marcos. But I thought how important it was for Marco to be at 4, just because he runs so many events, and he stays on board. It's very rarely that he leaves the board on the first kill or the second kill or even the third kill. You can always keep him alive, especially if you have a lot of events in hand. I also like running 2 of these because I feel like the 4-cost and 5-cost area is very susceptible for removal, especially the 4-drop, because it takes only 1 minus, especially against Smoker. It takes 1-1 and then a Kobe for you to lose your Atmos, or even a -1 into Kaku, and then at most you only get 1 swing off of it. Same thing with King Do. I thought King Do was more important to have than Marco, but since you can't really revive King Do, I would just sacrifice the 1k damage that Marco has, just to keep Marco on board, even if you're not getting anything off of his on play effect. And Thatch never really leaves the board. He might go into life as a Katakiri, and he might get sent back into your hand with Sogi King, which is unfortunate. But most of the time he's staying on board. He can't get Sakazuki. He needs to get Smokered into Sakazuki. So Rob Lucci has a bit more of a problem taking out Thatch. And he's an AK body, so Red is going to have a huge trouble with him. The only card, or the only leader I have trouble with, after I put down Thatch, it's like Ace, if they're going to Flame Emperor on curve. So that's the only thing. But Thatch, really good. I wouldn't be surprised if I ran this up for after the ban list. All right, so we go into our specials. So we run 4 blocker Marco. This card is probably getting banned for a reason, but I think it should be limited to 2. Just because 1 isn't all that scary. Seeing 1 is just like seeing any other blocker. And you can still Thunderbolt it, you can Fire Fist it, you can Jet Pistol it. You do a lot to get 1 off of board. But I feel like having 2 on the board is pretty good. But maybe that also feels unbeatable for a lot of people. So I'd probably run this still at 1. and then just replace these three with Fossa. Just so you always have that 1K counter on a blocker, just like you do if you're not playing with Marco. Um, and again, like you have a blocker, it loses to Vista, which probably Law will run more of now, or Zoros will probably run more of, since I've seen there's been Zoro lists that have Vista. So those will take care of Fossa, which is unfortunate. But having one is still going to be really good with three Fossa blockers. Moving on, we have four 5 marker. I used to have these at 3, but after I added it to 4, it just got so much better. You know, on play you KO anything that's smaller than 3K or less. So I've had battles against yellow where they I'm swinging with Whitebeard. They get a trigger. They trigger the Brule, and then I play this Marco down just so I don't have to worry about a Brule for the next turn. So it's really nice because not only does it get a blocker out, but it basically kills a card that should have gone to their hand first, and I don't have to worry about any unknown information because I already know what card came out of their life. I think it's really good. Moving on, we run 2 ace. I think I should bump this number to 3, but sometimes I feel like when I see ace, he's just Marco fodder. Like he's just Marco blocker fodder because sometimes on the turn before you would play Newgate, you either play 2 Marcos, which is really good, or you can play 1 down and then be a little bit more aggro with your Dawn on like your 8 or 7 curve. Or there's just not really like a good time to play him because there's no one ready to like minus on board. But ace, when there is people minus on board, super good because it wipes the entire board. It's really cool to get him in those moments when you really need him. But in that case where you don't see him or you don't really want to play him because there's no good opportunity, I would just play Thatch or play a Marco blocker. Or in some cases, you know, you could just do a little mix of both. Like play down this Marco, get like an Ezo in there, you know, and then just keep ace in hand just after your Whitebeards are done playing. You can clear the board because they've been swinging with their board heavily to try to chip you down the cards in your hand. Next I run 4 Newgates, which is going to be bye-bye very soon. It's going to be 1 Newgate. This, running 4 actually, you know, you always got to run 4, but I was able to see 4 Whitebeards in one of my games against a Rob Lucci in the semifinals. I just saw 2 in my starting hand, and I was like, okay, I know what I'm playing for. Play for my Newgates here. And I was lucky to see a lot of counter in hand. I was lucky to see my double Marcos in hand, but I was like, okay, I'm probably not gonna play a double Marco. And I ended up not having many dead cards in my hand besides this. I think I had a pitch an ace for a Marco blocker. I don't know if I had one actually up. I think I just had Whitebeard, and then 5 cost Marco that just stayed on the board. I can see why that's getting banned. I think though, if they're gonna change anything, they should just limit it to 2. Just because, you know, there's so many ways you can lose your cards now that you can get E-showed, lose your only Whitebeard that you had, and the game feels like over because that was your only way of keeping up for the next turn. Because usually if they play E-show and they don't have like Kaku on board or Kumadori, they're not going to swing into you because they just wasted all their Dawn on that. So even if you were to play Ace the next turn, you're not really going to get anything up. So you're going to have to play defensive, put down like a double Marco. And if it gets Lucci, it's a bit harder to keep up with that amount of pressure because you have no way to like put down big numbers and your Newgate just got limited. So, and it just got nuked. So unfortunate, but really good card, obviously. I can see why it's getting limited, but I think they should lower the limit to just 2. Yeah. Moving on, go to our events. We run 4 Whitebeard Pirates. I've had times where I've used Whitebeard Pirates to search Ezo, to search 9-gate. I like searching Ezo too, especially against Zoro, because it gives me somebody to fight the little ones. And getting Marco is really good because let's say they play like 3 people all at once, and they swing with 2 of them. You KO a smaller one with Ezo, KO a slightly bigger one with Newgate, and then you KO the last thing with Marco. We run 4 guard point. It's really good. You want to see Maybe not all these, probably like 2, 3 at most, and then sack 1 for your Marco. Really good 3K all the time. Sometimes if you don't have a turn 2 play, I would just keep 1 Dawn up if you have a guard point in hand, or even if you draw it from life. Most times, because people aren't gonna counter out of 8K, so just keep a guard point in life, so that if, let's say, like they don't have a turn 2 play besides putting like 1 Dawn on, especially if you're going first, then they play like a searcher, and then they swing 8K. You guard point out of it, only takes 1 card, and they had no play, so it's really good. And lastly, the card probably deserved the ban the most, Rad Beam. 4K all the time, basically. You're never really using this before you have 2 life. I remember when I was starting to play the game, where people were like, yeah, honestly, it's not a bad idea to use your radical beams before the 4K. I've never really found an opportunity to use them before the 4Ks, just because I either dawn out on attacks or I dawn out playing characters. I like to keep these in my hand as long as possible, but I don't mind pitching these for my Marco. Just because having a radical is so good. The 1K difference sometimes between guard point and radical make a huge difference in what you need. Because sometimes you might only need a radical, but then for guard point you need a guard point and a 1K. Or sometimes you will need a radical and then a 2K to counter out. But with guard point, that's like guard point 2K 1K. So that's 3 cards versus just 2. So Rad, very strong card. I can see why it's getting limited. The limit to 1 definitely makes sense. You already have guard point, and you can swap these 3 out with more 2Ks, more 2K counters, and maybe even like Red Hawk if you really want to. So yeah, this was my deck list that was able to win me this card. My matches were my round 1 was a category player. I don't think the game was that close. I don't think he really saw what he wanted to see. Didn't see any 8 drops. Didn't see the 7 drop before. Actually, he did see a 7 drop before I hit 0 life, and I think I trashed my life just because I was already so ahead in my game plan that he was already at 2 life at that point. So I trashed 1, and I had 2 5-cost Marcos, I think, on the board, or a Thatch. And I swing big 3 times because I put down my Newgate on the next turn. And then next turn, it doesn't. I also have the counter for an 18K plus swing in the case that he were to go all out. So I was able to survive if he did, which was very good actually. I don't think he went for it. I think he went to play cards and then try to live the next turn. But it didn't work. Actually, I remember what was on my board. It was a Marco and it was an Atmos because he thunderbolted my Marco to get him down to 1 less life. And then I revived it with guard point. And in my head I was thinking, why would you thunderbolt my Marco when my Atmos is right there as the same power? Like after play, you should just always go for the Atmos. Like 6K is no different, or Marco will be no different than Atmos after on play, besides the revive effect. So don't deal with someone who can revive. Just get the vanilla that the same amount of damage. My next game was against an ace player. It was very close, but I think there was a lot of misplays there that the ace player could have worked on to bring it closer. And they ran the double attack ace, which is the first time I've seen it used in a match, but it really didn't apply any pressure just because if you're gonna put it down, like in your next turn you just swing big with it to apply a lot of pressure and either force Whitebeard to take the double attack where you can't put down Whitebeard with a life, or you swing big with it and get a lot of cards out of my hand. But I don't think that happened because I think 2 turns later I put down my 9 drop. I was able to clutch it out. And my third game was against a Zoro player, where I think once I put down my second Whitebeard, they FF'd the game. I pulled a lot of these. These you want to see these, especially in the Zoro matchup. Mainly, probably a lot more now, because all more Zoros are going to run less Whitebeard and more like more of the 1-drop build that runs like Straw Hats and stuff. So you want to see these cards a lot more because you want to take care of them as much as possible. I would probably run probably want to see like 3 of these maybe, or just 2, and then on your 7 or 8 dawn curve. Put down 2 Marcos. And that, since you're only running 1 Whitebeard, you can keep putting these down after you put down your Marcos for survivability. And then you're just constantly clearing their board, and they're forced to have rush while also trying to keep up with your heavy attackers. So I would probably go, but if you don't see your Whitebeard, probably go Marco on 5 and 7, double Marco on 9. Oh, you can't double Marco anymore. Probably Marco and then Fossa on 9, or double Fossa for some defense. Maybe add more Dawn to swing higher for pressure. And I think that'll become really clutch. And my next round was against a Rob Lucci player. And again, I was very thankful to see 3 of these, because I think if I only saw 2, the game would have been a lot closer, a lot harder. But as soon as I saw 3, he had to end it the next turn. And I don't think he was able to do that. But I did have 2 Marco blockers in hand. So even if I had put 2 down, I was going to put 2 Marco blockers down. That makes it really hard for Lucci to combat, even if I were to be at 1 life, because I was untouched at that point in the game. And then my last round was against a Katakuri player, which was actually really good. I think the game came down to me being too aggressive towards the end. I only played with 1 Whitebeard with 0 cards in life. And I had a Marco blocker up. And I was able to just be really aggressive the whole time. They weren't really able to get anything started, so that was good for me. And I think I won. I won by a couple cards. He had like 5 cards in hand, and I swung for I think I swung for 11, and he had 5 cards in hand, so he would have needed only one of those to be a dead card, and then at least 3 2Ks and a 1K. But he only had 2 1Ks and 3 dead cards, because yellow runs a lot of dead cards, because you have your 10 drop, 7 drop, and 10 drop, 7 drop, and 8 drop, and you have Parasparrow as well. So it's like 16 dead cards, which makes sense. And then you have your events like Ikaku and Thunderbolt, where I think he had a Thunderbolt in hand too. So he had like a 10 drop, Thunderbolt, 2 1Ks, and like something else. But yeah, that's basically the gist of it. Moving on to the ban list, where you only are allowed to run one of these, and one of these. I definitely would add more events. Maybe add in Red Hawk. Maybe adding in Fire Fist might not be a bad idea. Just so you can deal with more cards on the board. Just so you're playing more defensively with offense, basically. So instead of putting like as much on the board, you're clearing the board more. Might not be as good against black, just because they have like Borsalino and Fukro. But it's also another card that you can pitch for Marco, which is really good. So I think that's what makes Marco really good, and that Firefish really good, is that you either are clearing board or you're feeding Marco, basically. I would also run more Fossas, just run 3 Fossas, just get more blockers in. You could also just do 2 more blockers, and then 2 more blockers, and then maybe like 1 less of what you ran, and then run 3 2K counters. 3 or 4 2K counters, depending on how you try to look at it. And to replace this card, I feel like you want to run more Ace, maybe more Atmos, and probably the 5 cost Rush Luffy, just because I feel like this deck needs to be faster to keep up with characters like Zoro, to keep up with characters like Dofi, especially because if you're relying so much on seeing this card, you're not going to have a good time. So I think running Rush Luffy, I was trying to run Shanks for a while, and I feel like sometimes you need a turn 3 play, and if you don't see like one of these 3, and you're just seeing 2 counters and events, then having the Luffy would be really good. Just so you have more chances you have a turn 3 play, and then you can combo well also into a turn 3 and a turn 4 play, where you can play this on turn 3, play the Luffy on turn 4, and then once they're fighting back against your minions, play Ace, clear the whole board, and then try to go for game next turn. That's how I see it. Moving on though to after the ban list, I'll probably give it a week or two with with Whitebeard. See how I like it. See where it falls short. Might try to like change it up a bit as it goes. I've been lapping a bit on the sim, and I've been winning sometimes, but some games feel like, man, I only lost there because I just didn't see Whitebeard. I didn't really have like I really couldn't get anything going. So that's how it feels like. I don't think the deck will be too bad. I think the deck will probably still pretty good. You're just gonna have to change how you play and change what you're looking for. But I think it'll be really interesting to see how the new Newgate plays, especially with like everyone probably trying it out, seeing if it keeps up, seeing if it doesn't keep up. Um, but yeah, this is my deck list. Let me know what you guys think about the video in the comments below. Let me know what you guys are planning to do on post ban list. If you're going to change up your Whitebeard deck, if you're going to switch off to Whitebeard, maybe to go to Zoro, maybe go to Katakuri. Don't blame you. Um, but yeah, this is my deck list. Probably gonna go to a local today. We'll put in the comments probably how I do. So I'll see you guys there. Have a great night and thank you for watching.